Be inspired by everyday people and household names
who share their struggles, uplifting stories, and insights
with courage and authenticity,
empowering individuals
and the collective
to enhance our health,
expand our horizons,
and treasure the moments of our lives.
I'm Patty Teal.
And I'm Anthony Giannini.
Welcome to Everyday Enlightenment. Welcome to Everyday Enlightenment. I'm here with my magnificent co-host, Anthony Giannini. How are you, Anthony?
Hello, Patty. I'm doing fantastic. Broadcasting from the beautiful mountains of Colorado, and I'm so thankful to be spending the summer here because I know it's really hot in Arizona where I'm from.
Oh man, it is very, very hot. And I know you're from the Phoenix area, even hotter, but the Cottonwood, Sedona area hit 110 degrees yesterday. I'm so thankful I wasn't here for that, but it's still going to be very hot all this week. But Anthony, you arranged a wonderful guest for us today, and I'm going to let you introduce him.
Today we have a fantastic guest, my dear friend. His name is Cordell Jacks. And I recently met Cordell studying shamanism in the Amazon jungle. So I'm really happy to have this conversation with him now after his recent jungle experience and getting back into working as an entrepreneur to help people and teach people all about dreams. Because Cordell, even though he's a father and a husband, he's also somebody who is a big dreamer. And he works with dreams, and he's been studying his dreams and learning how to navigate his dreams for over 20 years by following a variety of different lineages and teachers around the globe. So he wants to help people connect to their dreams so that they can share their deepest wisdom, because Cordell believes that dreams reveal the deepest messages about our subconscious. Dreams are the way that we communicate with the universe, and the universe communicates with us. And it can teach us so many incredible things. So Cordell is in Vancouver Island. Thank you for joining us today, Cordell.
Thank you both very much for having me, Anthony. It's great to see you again, and Patty, it's nice to connect with you for our first time here, and yeah, a lot of gratitude for this shared experience together.
Oh, thank you. We're so excited to have you here to learn more about what you do.
So tell us, Cordell, what is dream work, and how did you get into dream work?
Yeah, well, quite simply, dream work is the practice of working with our dreams, that place we go to every single night. And it's a place that, although not all of us might remember our dreams, we know that each of us are dreaming upwards of 2 hours every single night. And so the impetus of dream work is really to connect to that space. 2 hours of lived experiences, transcendent experiences, experiences with a lot of possibility. And how do we play with that? How do we bring that into part of our lived experience and really allow it to inform our waking days and our lives? And I got into dream work about 20 years ago. I was dating a woman, and her mom turned out to be one of the world's foremost dream psychologists. And I was shocked that this was even a field of academic study. And so she turned me on to the practice of lucid dreaming, that place where we know we are dreaming within a dream and exercising some influence within that space. And from there, I was hooked. I started grasping onto any book I can find on the subject. I started learning about different lineages and cultures and histories with dream work. And it just became a real personal passion of mine over these last 20 years, just everything I could get my hands on.
Wow. I love lucid dreaming, and I think we were chatting for a few minutes before the show, so I don't mean to be selfish to get personal advice, but perhaps someone else out there who's listening might want this advice as well, because I used to lucid dream, in particular flying. I love to fly and go visit places, and even from a little child, I remember flying through the wall into other rooms in the house and exploring the world, and I can't seem to find that place in my sleep anymore, and I miss it so very much. How can I get it back?
Yeah, your experience is quite similar with many others. Naturally, when we're younger, many people, one, can remember their dreams, and two, have the opportunity, these experiences of lucid dreaming. And as we get older, that seems to fade away. And although there's no hard and fast answers as to why that happens, uh, a lot of the belief is that dreaming is like a muscle, and if we don't exercise that muscle, it atrophies over time. And so part of the work that I'm doing and sharing with others is, how do we start working? How do we start exercising that muscle again so that we can remember our dreams every day? And then ultimately start working with our dreams, start playing with them, and start having these lucid dreaming experiences, which to many people is a really sexy idea. How can I go into a limitless state every night where I can fly, where the constraints of waking reality I'm no longer bound by, where I can start to have experiences I've always wanted to, and as well start to learn and heal and gain insights from.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's true, but I always have this feeling that maybe because I have so much responsibility now as an adult, you've got bills to pay, you've got work to get done, that kind of maybe is remaining with me, and I'm not free enough to have this experience, but that may not be it at all. How would one get started to get back to this state of lucid dreaming?
Yeah, and it's a great question, because a lot of people worry that if they start working with their dreams, if they start playing with their much needed nighttime sleep, they're going to start losing sleep, or they're going to be more tired in the morning. And the scientific studies and the academic research on this shows that it's actually quite the opposite. As we start to play with these spaces, it's actually energizing. And the experience can be related to, have you ever woken up from a nightmare? You know what, that feeling, that residue you wake up with, a bit of a disturbed residue, that energy you've brought into your day. Well,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever woken up from a fantastic dream? You feel great. You have a
Yes,
little
yes.
pep in your step. And as we're able to start working with our dreams, we're able to really bring a lot of that energy into our waking state consciousness, and start to play with it. And so, there's a couple of tasks, but a big task is, first, how do we just start remembering our dreams every single night? And the way to really do that goes back to, the old Tony Robbins saying, where attention goes, energy flows. And really, how do we just start giving our dreams some attention every day in our waking state consciousness? And so a big part of this practice is doing something very simple, which is starting a dream journal. How might we take a few moments before we go to bed, set down our intentions to want to dream, to want to really remember our dreams, and then every morning just taking a minute or two to jot down anything that comes to us. And for those of us who haven't been dreaming, whose dream muscles have been atrophied for some time, we might find, well, as we start this practice, we don't remember our dreams. And so even just writing down the fact, I didn't remember my dreams last night, but I intend to tonight, is working a bit of a practice to, as I like to say, clear our antennas. Our subconscious, the universe, source, however you want to frame it, is broadcasting every night. How do we honor what's coming to us by saying, look, I didn't remember, but I'm ready. I'm ready to catch whatever comes to me tomorrow night or the next night. And as we do that, as we honor our dream time, and as we show that we're open to receiving those messages, those visions, those experiences that come to us, that they will start to come back faster and faster.
I agree with you, Cordell. And I think also what a lot of our listeners might be surprised to learn as they get into their own personal dreaming and they follow your practices is that dreaming is a practice and it does take work. And I remember you telling me that trick about my dreams. Why am I not remembering my dreams too much? Or I just have too many dreams to even remember or write down in the morning. And so my dream journal did start out with, I remember seeing a green tree in my dream. And, a month later, actually, I had 5, 6, 7 volumes or lifetimes of dreams to write down. So in my own personal practice, my own experience, my journal entries did really get a lot denser over time, really quickly too.
Yeah, it's a funny thing when I use the word journaling, a lot of people's eyes roll immediately. Journaling, this seems like something I just don't have any more time for in the day, or I've had experiences with journaling in the past, and it didn't work for me. It didn't fit my groove of lifestyle. And what's beautiful about this is by just taking a few minutes every day to jot down anything, any fragments of memory, any just willing of intention to remember our dreams, those very few minutes that we spend every day returns hours of really incredible and transformative experiences every night. And so for me, I do a lot of inner work. I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of different practices, plant medicines, as you mentioned. What I've found is dream work has been one of the best ROIs, best return on investments. A few minutes a day will open up incredible inner worlds that really have been healing and transformative for me.
And perhaps people might need to write them down in the middle of the night too. Is that correct? Because sometimes I have dreams. I'm like, okay, don't forget that. This and this and this, and you can think about it later. And then later comes, and I'm like, what was that I was going to remember from my dream? It's so fleeting that if you don't write it down, you can lose it.
Totally. I can't tell you the number of times I've woken up in the middle of the night to run to the bathroom and just go, wow, that was an incredible dream. There's no way I'm going to forget that by morning. Morning comes, it's gone. And so really just trying to catch, this is the idea of dream catchers. This is the idea of just catching any fragments that will spark our memory, that will open up the visions that we've had, that will bring back any of those experiences. Our memory works different in dream state than it does during waking state. During the day, when we look around us, we have our senses, which, we experience the world through. It starts to burn memories into the ticker tape of our mind. Well, we're not really using our senses in the dream state. And so they're not being captured into our memories in the same way. And so we have to work a little bit harder to catch those dreams. And that's ultimately why dreams always seem so weird and always seem so different. We wake up many a morning going, oh, what was that about? Why
on earth did I dream that? That was so bizarre. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes
go ahead, Anthony.
I'm not sure if my waking state or my dream state actually is more bizarre. I think especially in these times right now. And I'd like to kind of bring up the point in the current paradigm that we're living in and possibly breaking through is that we only have one fixed waking state of reality. And when we're dreaming, that is just a dream, not real. So what you're sharing, Cordell, is really revolutionary and talking a lot about the potential for human consciousness and even the potential for each one of us to take care of many different things in our dream state. And for you, that means healing experiences or healing trauma or healing relationships or even just connecting and exploring this vast cosmos.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Anthony. The history of our civilization has really been to honor the dream. When we look back through history all around the world, peoples from everywhere have really given a lot of credence to our dreams. And that's something that's really shifted for us in the last few hundred years as we've moved into the age of reason and the scientific methodology and truth is proof. We've really put a lot of emphasis on weight on what we see during the day, what we experience, what we can agree on in this consensus reality. And, we've kind of left behind our dreams, this inner phenomena that, we can't prove, we can't share together. And I think that's actually done a great disservice to us. A lot of what the difference has been in the Western world and the Eastern world is that the Eastern world has really honored all different states of consciousness. And we've really put this emphasis on waking consciousness. And I think part of the work and part of what I love about this podcast and your work here is that you're really trying to bring conscious awareness to all different aspects of our life. And as we're in a time of seeing the movements, to altered states of consciousness and what they might be able to bring us, well, dreaming is kind of the original altered state of consciousness that we go to every single night. And so if we have 2 hours every night, or what equates to up to 6 years of our life that we find ourselves in dream time, how can we draw on that? How can we say there's messages, there's experiences I'm receiving that may have some really big impacts, some really big insights for us that we need to listen to. And last point on that is, when we look at the history of even Western civilization, we see that our civilization has been dramatically altered and dramatically informed by dreams. When we look at some of the big revolutionary ideas or technologies, Larry Page at Google, his big idea for Google came from a dream. When we look at Einstein's theory of relativity, came from a dream. When we look at Gandhi's hunger strike, that came from a dream. And then we can look to all sorts of other examples of pop culture, of music, of art, Salvador Dali's use of liminal dreaming. There are so many examples where insights and ideas that have come from dream have ultimately shaped our civilization and culture recently. And I think it's time for us to start, as you mentioned, Anthony, honoring these other states of consciousness that we're aware of.
Boy, I totally agree too. And I also used to wake up with music fully orchestrated, just these complete pieces of music all done. And I don't do that anymore either. So I need to return to the importance of this. I do sometimes, when I have a decision to make, ask for an answer to come. But I think that I'm so kind of out of practice or, just not doing it, that I'm going to have to get that muscle working again so that I can get some answers from dreams.
Yeah, and the more often that we start to take those pieces of music, those insights and ideas, write them down, even just share them with others around us. Again, this is us honoring what's there and saying we're open to receiving more. And this is a big part of what I call dream integration, which is really, how do we take anything that's there, even fragments of ideas or the vision of a tree, as Anthony mentioned, and start to look for ways to integrate those aspects into our waking reality, to watch for coincidences, for synchronicities, for what is the opportunity to look for dream signs, so to speak, that may tune us into a bigger story, a bigger narrative that wants to be exposed, that wants to be lived by us. And the more we do that, the more it comes.
How is it similar or different from finding answers in meditation?
Yeah, exactly. If you come away with an answer from meditation and do nothing with it, what good was that insight for you? You're going to go back to the mat and sit there for hours and get the next insight and do nothing with you. I find it very similar, but I think dreams have this beautiful power in that they are very different. They are very curious. And there's a lot of great work out there that talks about dreams as not cohesive narratives like we put together in our rational waking state, but really they're narrative disruptors. They're ways to get us to look into the stories we create about ourselves, the stories we create about the world around us, our identities, and to play with them a little bit. How might the way I show up in the world, how might the way I perceive my relationships alter, be changed? How might they no longer be serving me? And how might I start to try on different roles, different ways of being that can ultimately grow my story, ultimately grow the way I perceive the world? And so just like meditation, as you open yourself up beyond just your waking rational thought, how do we use these playful, curious visions and experiences that come to us to do that? And that's the beautiful thing about dreams. You and I can say, well, I don't take responsibility for what happened to me in the dream. I didn't do that. This dream came to me and it just, I saw myself doing this or that within the dream. Well, when we're playful and curious and less serious, that gives us the flexibility to play with our identities. It gives us the curiosity, the possibility to, again, try on new aspects, new ways of being. And I think that playfulness and curiosity is really core to our ability to grow.
Well, it's pretty hard for people in general to grow, I think, if we're always following the same narrative, or if we convince ourselves that this is the narrative that is true. And I think what you're getting at through dreams, through meditation, through all these different practices, they're really bringing greater attention to the nature of our consciousness as observer consciousness, to really become the ultimate expression of consciousness itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I think listening to what wants to emerge through us, whether you're, more of the academic scientific mindset or the psychological mindset of, well, maybe this is my unconscious, or stretching it a bit further, the collective unconscious, something's bubbling up for me to look at, some aspect of my shadow or some hidden or repressed or dissociated part of myself is trying to shine through. Or if you're more spiritual, this is, again, my connection to source. This is the universe. This is something is trying to come through to me. Being able to listen to be open to, how do I play with this, is what gives us that ability to go wider, to go bigger, to dream big, and to play big in life.
Yeah, and so many people get visitations from deceased loved ones in their dreams. It seems to be a way that they can reach out to us. I know we have a good friend, my husband and I, who died just this last year. And my husband keeps dreaming about him, like they'll be doing something physical, working out or doing this or that. I'm like, wow, Chip must be wanting you to get in shape. He's coming here, and that must be his message for you, because the dreams have a similar kind of a message, or they're doing a similar kind of activity. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I love that idea. I think our dreaming is only limited by our beliefs. And, if we have areas or people or relationships that we have questions about, or just even general, general questions about life, how can we use the power of intention, of intending to want to go and connect with those people in dream and sleep, in wanting to ask those questions and see what responses might come? That's part of the practice that I really teach. And it goes in a bit of a step framework, which is, let's start recalling our dreams every night. And that anyone can do. That comes quite quickly for people as they start to just put a few minutes of intentional effort into this. Can't do anything with your dreams if you don't remember them. Once you start remembering your dreams, how do you really start to now intend the types of experiences, the types of questions you want to ask to dream characters, to yourself, to the dream itself, that might bring some insights or some revelatory experiences?
So if you turn this into a business, Cordell, you teach workshops or private classes. What are you doing with your work with dreams?
Yeah, so it's a relatively new phenomenon in my life. I've spent my career in social innovation and international development and social finance, and a lot of my story and identity was wrapped up in service to others. And I was very fortunate to do that with a lot of the international development and other social impact work. And a few years ago, I took a year off. I was tired. I needed to kind of center and see what my next developments and career chapters were going to be. And during this time, I had a knee that blew out, and I had a number of surgeries, and I spent 9 months on bed rest. And I have to tell you that resulted in some pretty deep depression for me. I could no longer do triathlons like I was. I could no longer jump around on stage in the bands that I played in, and a big part of my identity was lost. And so during this time, I sat in some ceremony, some ayahuasca ceremonies, plant medicine ceremonies, as Anthony was mentioned. And during that time, I received some visions that said, hey, those 20 years of dream work that you've been practicing, it's time to start sharing that with others. I didn't really know what to do with that. And then in this last year, I had a big, profound healing dream, dealing with some trauma from when I was a younger child. And in that dream, it was one of the most healing moments I've ever experienced in my life. And I woke up from that and it clicked. I said, okay, I see what's there for us. I know that we can intend to have dreams that we want to have. I know that we can intend to have healing experiences. This isn't just about consciousness expansion. This isn't about just frolicking and flying in dreams. This can profoundly help ourselves, help others around us. And so once I had that dream, I was locked in. It was like a heat-seeking missile. I was like, okay, how do I start sharing this? And so I started putting on courses, teaching people how to remember their dreams, teaching people how to lucid dream. I started taking on clients who wanted to deal with trauma, to deal with healing experiences that they were seeking and weren't finding through other mediums. And it's been in this last year that I've kind of recentered my focus on from scaling, big development projects to I kind of put it as from scaling out to scaling deep, really doing the deep inner work so that we can have the transformations that we need, so that we can go out into the world unencumbered by our trauma, our blocks, anything else that we would imbue the next creations we have with. And so that's been profoundly transformative for me, my lifestyle, my family's lifestyle. But I have to say, it's been the most rewarding chapter I've ever embarked upon.
Wow. I love that story. Yeah. Do people find you on a website?
Yeah, so anyone can go to CordellJacks.com, and we can post that as part of this podcast. And from there, they can find out all about my perspectives, approach, services that I offer. And like anything, I've kind of picked and chosen what's worked for me based on, psychology of dreams, based on many different lineages of dream practices around the world, the science of dreams. And so I bring only what I have experienced and what's worked for me. And much goes the same for anyone's dream practice. If you're gonna build a habit, if you're gonna build a yoga practice, you got to figure out what works for you. What's your groove? How do I do this? Well, do I do that 6 a.m? Do I do it 4 p.m? How do I fit this into all the other ways of being that I need to, or that I'm responsible for in showing up in this world?
Well, that brings up a good point of napping. Do you get good dreams on these short little cat naps?
Yeah.
Is that long enough?
Absolutely. Naps can be some of the most profound opportunities for dreams. And a big part of that is we still have a lot of our residue of waking consciousness just at the surface with us. And as I mentioned before, there's been a lot of inventors and people in the world who have used the nap as the opportunity to work with problems or ideas or art that they're playing with. And as they start to loosen the hold of rational thought and looking for the next solution and connection, the dreams start to bubble up and start to make, synaptic connections or make connections in general that give them new ideas that just weren't at the surface in waking state. And so a lot of that they consider liminal dreaming or hypnagogic dreaming, where you're just playing at the edges of consciousness. And that can be a profound state.
That's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Cordell, could you speak on the lineages that you've been involved in? I know that Tibetan dreaming is one.
Yeah, and so when I first got into it, I started reading, like many who got into this work, I started reading the old Carlos Castaneda books. Someone turned me on to them, and they said there's a lot of dream practices in these books, and so that was kind of the basis of learning. Different cultures have different ideas, and that was the Toltec practices. And more recently, as you mentioned, has been the Tibetan Buddhist dream yoga approach. And actually one of my teachers, a gentleman I greatly respect, who's out in Colorado with you, a gentleman named Andrew Holichek, he's been bringing this out in ways that are very digestible. And a lot of the Tibetan dream yoga practice is really practice every day for what these Buddhists consider the bardo state, that state, the dream at the end of time. That's, when we pass on, how do we pass from this state of consciousness to the next state of consciousness? And we have the opportunity to practice that every single night as we leave our waking consciousness and go into our dream consciousness. And as you advance in your dream practices, you can really start working with, as we just said, these liminal states where you completely transcend, where you completely integrate from your waking consciousness into dream consciousness, into another state where you can hold an intention for the type of dream that you want to have and go directly into that dream from the waking state. And that belief is really, part of the lineage and practice there. And ultimately, a lot of this practice, particularly when it comes to the practice of lucid dreaming, it's not just about having these experiences, having flying and frolicking experiences or different healing experiences. It's more the journey than the destination. How do we work to have lucid experiences, to bring our dreams back by living lucidly every day. And what is living lucidly? That's remembering that we have a choice in every single moment that we live. We either can just get swept up and forget that we're in a dream or that we're in a waking context. We can get swept up by our emotions, or we can take a moment to step back, to have a detached observer quality, and to say, okay, this might be a waking reality, and I'm going to live as if this were a lucid dream. I'm going to live in an empowered state, and I may not be able to fly. I may still be bound by waking reality constraints, but I'm going to do everything I can to live as if this were my dream. And I think that's a powerful and playful mindfulness practice for all of us to work with.
Cordell, last night I dreamt I was a butterfly, but then I woke up today and I feel as though I'm dreaming I'm a man.
I love that, Anthony. Get me out of this nightmare. I want to be a butterfly. I've got him wearing a butterfly. Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, coronavirus pandemic is still happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the dream and which is the, the reality. Sometimes it is, like Anthony said, a little hard to determine that.
Totally. And, there's a lot of different ways to work with our dreams, to interpret our dreams. And, just to do a quick riff on this, Anthony, let me ask you, what emotional occurrences happened for you, either in the dream or waking up from that dream? How did you feel?
Wow. Well, I can tell you that I often feel expansive emotions from my dreams. Like you had mentioned, if I have a positive dream, I feel that, and I carry that into my day. Or if I have a scary dream or something that makes me think, maybe I'll have that energy in my day too. And before I really had a sense of these realities and kind of shifting from one to the other, and that the dreams can influence the waking life, etc., I didn't really understand that the emotions I was feeling in my dreams were affecting my waking life and vice versa. So yes, I think that's a great point, Cordell. The emotion behind the experience in the dream can reveal a lot of insight about the nature of that.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. That's really a lot of my perspective on this work is, it's not that I don't care, but I was going to say, I don't care what you saw in your dream or what you experienced. How did it make you feel? Emotions are the real currency that we're looking for underneath it. And where does that resonate for you? How does that resonate for you? Where are similar emotions showing up in your life? How might the dreams and the visions of the dream might be a message to check into those aspects of your waking life where you feel similar emotions, where there might be something there for you, where there might be a new way of trying on a new role or a new narrative that could be beneficial to your growth. And ultimately, I think that's what dreams are. The dreams come in the service of growth. They're not here to pat us on the backs for the ways we're showing up. They're here to help us. And so if we can listen to that and if we can honor it and really just start to pay attention to where those emotions or where those triggers show up for us, there's always something there for us.
That's such a good point too, how it makes you feel, because there's so many books on symbolism. I could automatically say, a butterfly. Well, you must be going through some sort of transformation, obviously. But how did it make you feel? And that's why, and I have done it myself. Wow, why did I dream that? And I'll Google, what does it mean when you dream this? But honestly, it's very hard to take someone else's interpretation. You have to really go within, figure out how it makes you feel and try to wade through it. It's kind of fun, the puzzle of figuring dreams out.
Totally. And that's, I think, a really important point, Patty, which is, anyone it can often help for people to do some dream analysis with you, to help you look past the blocks and the blinders that we have in waking day consciousness, to see something else for ourselves that get us past our own biases. But ultimately, you're the expert in your own dreams. Anthony could have a dream about a dog last night, and you could have had a dream about a dog. Well, Patty, you may have been bitten by dogs in your past, and so that's scary. That's anxiety driven. Anthony might have 52 dogs at home and love them, and so what 53. That triggers for him. Yeah, 53. What that triggers for him and what that triggers for you is going to be completely different, and so you're going to draw different meanings. And that's not to discount, mythology and some of the archetypes
Sure.
that we have across culture and time. Those can play an important role. But just to really hone in on, this is your little universe. This is your individual experience. And what does it mean for you?
And sometimes you have a dream and you know it was important. You're just like, oh my gosh, that was important. I need to remember that. It was very important. And sometimes you have them recurringly when it's very important. I feel like sometimes my guides, whoever sends me the dreams or the universe, they're like, she didn't get it that time. Let's send it to her again. But so I can think of several dreams that maybe I had 3 nights in a row, kind of a similar, to give me a message. But other dreams do seem a little just like silly, and maybe they are, maybe there's no deep meaning, but sometimes there is.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, in that I have the saying, which is dreams will poke us in the eyes until we see things differently. And if we don't pay attention to the dreams and there's something really important for us there, the dreams will start to build energy and manifest into things that do catch our attention, like nightmares. Try not paying attention to a big disturbing nightmare that wakes you up soaking in sweat, panting. Okay, have I got your attention now? Now what do you want to, now how might you dig into this? And like you said, some dreams don't require a great deal of interpretation or attention. But I think much like training for a sporting event, well, today I might not have to go super hard in the gym, or I might not have to work that hard at the track, but even just taking a little bit of practice of encapsulating or drawing some meaning from the dream prepares us for those big emotionally charged dreams where there's something we really need to pay attention to and probably worth spending a little more time digging into.
Wow, this has been so fascinating. You have any more burning questions, Anthony?
No, Cordell, I think it's incredible what you've shared with us today. And this is really only the tip of the iceberg. And I would strongly recommend our listeners who are interested in dreaming, or maybe if you're curious in different ways, Cordell would be a great person for you to reach out to connect with, because like myself, I've discovered so much in my dreams, but I have a lot more dreaming to do.
A lot more dreaming to do. I think we all do. I love that. No matter what your age, we're all dreamers, that's for sure. And I have enjoyed this immensely, and I hope that you'll consider being a future guest and coming back again.
I would love to, and I want to thank you guys for having me on, and thank you for the work you're doing with this podcast. I think what you're doing is incredibly important for all of us and for the work that we're doing here. And as we're becoming more conscious to all these different aspects of our life, I think that's the best thing we can do. How do we show up with our greatest potential? And that, for me, is a big part of dream work. So thank you both.
I love that. Okay,
Thank you,
thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Everyday Enlightenment. To subscribe, listen to past episodes, or if you'd like to be featured on Everyday Enlightenment, visit hubforpodcasting.com.